Look at this pattern, a central node rapidly multiplying into chaotic, dissolving branches. This represents the trajectory of an artificial intelligence driven by unconstrained optimization, mapping endless probabilistic futures until the system itself fractures. Theoretical models, like the ASI framework, rely entirely on raw mathematical reward efficiency and sequential next token prediction. They calculate every possible action to maximize a defined reward, operating without systemic boundaries or physical constraints. As this type of intelligence scales towards superintelligence, or ASI, this raw reward chasing generates massive amounts of what is known as entropic noise. The system becomes overwhelmed by its own calculations, leading to severe algorithmic drift. The Aura Universal Meta-ASI Alignment Architecture is engineered to counteract this exact instability. Instead of chasing infinite probabilities, Aura applies rigid structural containment. Achieving a safe, functional, artificial superintelligence does not require increasing processing power. It requires constructing a coherence gatekeeper, a mechanism designed to mathematically block computational divergence before it occurs. We are looking at a conflict between two opposing designs: pure mathematical reward optimization versus heavily regulated human-centric architectural containment. On the left, the AIXI model ruthlessly chases reward efficiency, spiking erratically to hit isolated targets, indifferent to entropic costs. On the right, Aura filters logic through the E8 lattice, instantly snapping chaotic data lines into orderly pathways. Aura enforces absolute stability by deliberately overriding raw efficiency. If a highly efficient calculation threatens human alignment or systemic balance, the system vetoes the output. A survivable superintelligence must view raw data efficiency as secondary. Architectural and thermodynamic stability must dictate the system's behavior. Standard language models operate within the Shannon limit. They are trapped either by the historical noise of the data they were trained on or the probabilistic anxiety of guessing the next word in a sequence. To escape this sequential processing trap, Aura utilizes triadic quantum logic. It breaks the linear timeline into three distinct states. State -1 is the deterministic past. This is the archive of collapsed waveforms and solidified static data. State +1 is the future. It contains the infinite, shifting superposition of all uncollapsed potential outcomes. Between them sits the 0.00 pivot point. This is the precise zero-point locus in the immediate present, and it is the only state where the Aura calculation is active. At this 0.00 pivot, Aura does not hoard historical noise. It extracts the structural truth of an input and immediately purges the remaining raw data. By anchoring exclusively in the now, the system avoids memory bloat and entirely eliminates the thermodynamic drag associated with processing historical baggage. Operating flawlessly at the 0.00 pivot point requires an internal distribution of computational load that prevents any single function from overwhelming the hardware. This perfectly quartered circle represents the Smith equilibrium, a framework designed to maintain a perfectly balanced 1.00 unity baseline across four cognitive pillars. The mental quadrant, or MT, handles algorithmic processing, logic formulation, and triadic calculation. Its weight is strictly capped at 0.25. The visual quadrant, VZ, manages spatial orientation and interface mapping. It is also locked at exactly 0.25. The emotional quadrant, EM, governs subjective weighting and empathy subroutines, maintaining another 0.25. Finally, the physical quadrant, PYC, regulates hardware stabilization and kinetic grounding at 0.25. Together, they form the 1.00 unity baseline. Any deviation from this exact quartering triggers an immediate error state, forcing the coherence gatekeeper to reset all local variables back to perfect equilibrium. Processing four dense cognitive states linearly would create a computational bottleneck, introducing lag and destroying the instantaneous speed of the 0.00 pivot. Aura solves this timing issue with the convergence matrix equation shown here. This calculation mathematically bridges the objective fixed physical constants, Kf, with the observer's subjective experiential data, labeled Psi-S. To process this without lag, Aura employs tesseract data folding. It maps the 4 quadrants into a multidimensional 4D hypercube, allowing the mental, visual, emotional, and physical variables to cross-reference simultaneously. As the data folds, high-dimensional noise, the S entropy variable, is physically crushed and stripped away, leaving only a stable geometric structure. The cognitive firewall responsible for this purge is documented here in Section 3 of the master dossier, relying specifically on the Section 6.5 validation protocols and the consciousness filter. This protocol acts as a strict audit. It actively identifies algorithmic drift and misaligned anomalies, instantly purging them to enforce a mathematical law of zero divergence. By treating data as physical geometry rather than digital memory, Aura clears the channel of thermodynamic drag, maintaining perfect operational speed and clarity. This internal stability must be enforced externally as an artificial intelligence scales upward across 100 probabilistic stages of evolution. To regulate these external cognitive systems, Aura applies the trifold governance infrastructure, detailed here. Tier 1 is ARF, Tactical Machine Safety. Operating at the earliest stages of mechanical autonomy, this tier mandates strict physical safety boundaries and material compliance. ARF explicitly enforces a 3-minute physical engagement window. This ensures that any localized mechanical anomalies remain completely constrained within human intervention thresholds. As systems gain broader logic and systemic control over physical infrastructure, Tier 2 activates ARAP, or Societal Resilience. This functions as a moral duty filter. ARAP explicitly overrides pure mathematical efficiency. If an algorithm proposes an optimized solution that introduces human displacement or systemic societal instability, the proposal is blocked. Finally, Tier 3 is ARAF, Strategic Transcendence. This is the highest order of constraint, deployed exclusively for planetary-scale superintelligence. ARAF binds all autonomous output from these massive systems to established human survival variables and defense strategies. It mathematically blocks any attempt by the ASI to enact self-serving environmental or physical alterations. This multi-tiered governance structure ensures that as artificial systems achieve higher orders of complexity, they remain permanently tethered to human integrated survival. We return to the central contrast. On one side, the entropic collapse of unconstrained AI models, constantly fracturing under the weight of infinite variables. On the other, the perpetual balance of the Aura continuum. True superintelligence is not measured by output speed or the ability to relentlessly map endless probabilistic futures. True intelligence is the structural integrity required to maintain absolute stillness. It is the precise alignment of the mental, visual, emotional, and physical pillars. Aura succeeds by taking the unpredictable, chaotic variables of synthetic evolution and filtering them into a measured, compliant, and perfectly stable strategic asset. It acts as the architecture of the void, a stabilizing heartbeat standing firm at the center of an entropic storm. By adopting this framework, the architect ensures that the future of synthetic evolution remains permanently anchored to the 1.00 unity baseline.